because they kind of try to confuse you, and you're kind of confused because you're trying to guess what's going to happen as well. Could you kind of tell who was doing what and who was on whose side on the train when who was calling who and they were meeting up in the back and all that stuff?
Yes, because they weren't showing his face. I was expecting a mask reveal. So that's the thing about this movie here with the masks. I guess we should talk about.
Yeah,
is the mask didn't work for me because even my first watch after 20 years, I'm like, that's Tom Cruise. That's Tom Cruise. There's a couple times in there where I'm like, okay, like they just put makeup on Tom Cruise.
But that's why it works for me in this movie more than any of the other ones, because these are realistic masks. If like this is the real world, like you can't, like the John Voight mask at the end is the most extreme. And notice he doesn't say anything, right? Because we don't have like the voice chip things that we have in the later movies. So all the other, because we have actually, and this is the count I wanted at the end, but there are multiple masks we have so far in the movie, right? But there are multiple masks, and up until the John Voight mask, everybody looks like Tom Cruise. There's some makeup, which is exactly what you would look like, right? Now the John Voight one it's a pretty impressive special effect as well. I'm not sure exactly how they did it. They melded like CGI and practical there because it's one continuous shot, right? Where he rips the John Voight face off and it's Tom Cruise. Very impressive there. But see, to me, this made it, I understand in the heightened reality of Mission Impossible, like why am I even complaining about this, right? But it gets way too ridiculous in the later movies when just anybody has a mask at any time. It could be anyone, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, as much as I love Fallout, like, there was a time in Fallout where I'm like, I predicted the twist. I'm like, that's not going to be who that person is, you know? Because you're maybe because I watched all six of them back to back in a row, I'm like, okay, I'm expecting a mask twist at some point in this movie. But I got to say that the masks didn't work so much in this one for me. I like the fact that the masks, you just use that actor instead. It was weird having Tom Cruise being the
John
actor
Voight.
when it was a mask, so I don't know. That was weird to me. So that really the only thing I'd take away from this movie. Like I don't know. Like, do we want to get into ratings now for this?
Yeah.
Unless there's any last thoughts final thoughts you want to talk about the film?
No. I would say I didn't recall how the Jean Renault plot was going to go. Like I'm like, oh, is he gone now from the team? And then he realizes that he's the guy that stabbed him earlier because of the knives and all that. So I kind of call it like Chekhov's knife, right? Because you saw the knife from earlier, and he had the knife, and then he dropped the knife at Langley, and then the knife at the stabbing the other agents there. So and then I'm like, oh, he's on the bad guys team. This is how long it's been since I've seen the movie. And then it all came back. I'm like, oh yeah, he's the guy flying the helicopter at the end and all that. Because I was like, oh wait, Ving Rhames comes back. Well, why not Jean Renault? But now we know why he doesn't come back. So,
right.
But yeah, I thought this was probably we are no Mission Impossible experts here.
No.
Right. But from what I understand of the show, this is the most faithful of the films to the show, which is ironic considering how much the original cast hated it and said it was had nothing to do with the show and they didn't want to be associated with it. Right. So,
well, I wonder how much it would have changed then from when they bowed out to the final draft.
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty consistent. I think just that team would have been the old team, right, with the original actors, except for Tom Cruise over here, and he would have been the one survivor. So that's also a red flag too. You get the big movie stars, the one guy. You're like, okay, I wonder who's going to survive, right?
Right on. I guess we should talk about the train chase because we haven't even mentioned that yet. But that train chase is pretty outstanding. Like when they're on top of that train, like I don't know how they did it. Like there's definitely some blue screen there, right? But I think he was actually hanging off the top of a train and off the side of a train as well.
I know that they had some high-powered fans for some stuff, right, to simulate how the force of the wind being blown at them. But yeah, there's definitely some rear projection, some green screen, some practical stuff, as well. Of course, you're not going to fly an actual helicopter into a tunnel like that, but I thought that was pretty impressive. And and I guess it could seem tame by the time you get to Fallout, right, 6 movies later. But at the time, I mean, this is some really exciting stuff. Although there wasn't a big knockdown drag out fight, right, between Tom Cruise and John Voight at the end. So it maybe felt a little unfulfilling that way, but he did get to use the gum and blow up both the guys that tried to kill him. So that was satisfying enough. But that's something that I think the Mission Impossible films are kind of lacking up until Fallout, which is like a good physical threat, right? Like a main villain, like to go one-on-one against at the end of the film. And
well,
that's
they kind of get
got.
that later with that guy that was in Prometheus.
Okay. The guy
I know what movies they're in. I don't know names, right? But...
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, there really was that was a cool set piece, and that's what this franchise becomes over time because set pieces, right?
See, you say that they wouldn't fly a helicopter into a tunnel, but they would in Mission Impossible 6, right? Like, if they go to Mission Impossible 7, they do things like that, right? So
it's like when Michael Scott on The Office is talking about the Die Hard movies, right? He's like, in the first movie, John McClane, right? He's running around. His feet get cut by broken glass. He's human. And the fourth one, he's driving he's driving a motorcycle into a helicopter, right? And it just gets more and more absurd. But it works for Mission Impossible, and I think really it's because Tom Cruise is doing these stunts himself. And
yeah, absolutely. I think that adds to the believability of it.
And like you said about Tom Cruise, like he is a really good actor,
Yeah.
And this is his one franchise. But he's not.
No, he's got Jack Reacher now.
That's two and done. They're making a TV show out of it now, right? And
really?
Yes, correct. And the Mummy didn't take off, right? So this is like, it's interesting that like that's why he's such like the last of a breed of movie stars, right? Because nowadays franchises are the star, right? That's part of our podcast here, right? Franchise fatigue, right? But Tom Cruise, Will Smith, I don't know.
Whoa, you can't say those two names in one breath, man.
Oh,
like,
totally.
geez.
What are you talking about, man? Will Smith owned the 90s and the early 2000s, the box office.
Shame.
Are you come on, man. Like Will Smith, he had Men in Black, Independence Day.
These movies aren't good.
Those are great movies.
No, they're not.
Wild Wild West is not good. All right, I'll give you that. I'm not going to defend
Enemy of the
that.
State.
What I'm saying is like when you could sell a movie on the name of a star, like star power alone, okay? And
what's a really good Will Smith movie is I Am Legend.
No, I don't like I Am Legend. Not good.
Man, that movie's amazing. I
didn't
want to see it because he was in it, but I went and saw it, and I'm like, wow, this movie's so good.
The first half of I Am Legend is pretty good. I'll give you that. So, but anyway,
the second half is great.
So, franchise fatigue. We'll do Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and I Am Legend with Will Smith. Put it on the calendar.
That's three remakes, though.
They're all based off of the Richard Matheson book.
That doesn't count.
So does that? I don't know. We'll have to go back and listen to our rules episode to see if that counts. You're right. So anyway, I just this is a really fun movie, right? I think it did exactly what it needed to do. I felt and I keep going back to the Star Trek comparison because that's what it is, right? It's like if they had made the Kelvin timeline movies for Star Trek back in the 90s, right? This is something like what we'd have gotten, Brandon.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I love this, and I'm very excited to see Mission Impossible 2 because it can only get better, right?
That's right. It can only get better. Now, we're going to do a mask count.
Oh, you better keep track of this.
So we have 4 masks in this film. We have the cold open, right? We have the MI team on like a standard procedure kind of mission, right? The cold open.
Okay, let's see if I can remember them all then.
Okay, so that's the first one, obviously, right? So he rips out, and even then, like it's the closed circuit television, right? And you can
that's Tom Cruise.
That's Tom Cruise, old man makeup.
So the next one is when
one.
He's at the party with Tom Cruise again.
And again, did you like the gradual reveal? Like it was like some kind of like big revelation, right?
And that's why I knew it was him at the end, right? Because they didn't show his face right away. That's why
they kept doing that point of view shot, right? We're like, oh, hello, Senator, right? You're like, oh, is it going to be a big reveal how he looks? And like, am I supposed to be amazed that you put some old man makeup on Tom Cruise? But yeah, that's the second one. All right, you're right. What's the third one?
Okay, the fourth one is the Jim Phelps mask at the end.
That's correct.
Okay, the third one, I don't know if I'm right on this one here, but did he have one when he was a fireman?
That you are correct. You see when he's taking off his fire outfit, he has a mask in his hand, and because they're obviously at the government building there, they would have recognized him had he not had a disguise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay,
that's all. And that's all 4 masks in the film. So yeah, I think I got a new Halloween idea costume. I want to dress up in a trench coat and just a John Voight mask, and there'd be like maybe one person who might get that. what I'm doing. So.
Where are you going to get a John Voight mask from?
That's a good question. So I think I might get a Michael Myers mask and I'll alter it into a John Voight. But he look kind of like Michael Myers, right? If you just look at it, he's got the kind of mullet going on there. So anyway, did you really? I mean, I know we're kind of jumping around here at the end, but did you buy the fact that this guy would betray his entire team?
Well, it depends on where. I mean, like the guy needed money, right? So there's a backstory here that we don't know. So yes, I mean, like sure, yeah, I do. Right.
Do you believe?
But again, because I don't know the character for the TV show, right?
Right. But do you believe he would shoot his own wife in cold blood at the end?
No, okay, that doesn't work for me. Okay, that is something that really doesn't work for me in this movie, is when he shoots his wife. It just kind of happens, and I'm like, why? I don't understand why.
If you remember, and again, I really like the storytelling in this movie, right? Is when Jon Voight and Tom Cruise, right, with Jim Phelps and Ethan are talking, and they're Ethan's like, oh, that's right, so and so must have done this and that, but he's actually talking about Jim Phelps, right? And you see how he killed all the team members. You see all this, and he does. He's like, "What? Why, Jim? Why?" And he's asking Jim himself, but Jim thinks he's asking why this other guy would have done it. Keesner, or whatever his name is, whatever the guy's name is, right? So I really like that actor. He's like a more serious Patrick Warburton, I thought, and he was a good foil for Tom Cruise in this movie. But he mentions like, I don't know, money problems. You know, you're not running the country anymore. The Cold War's over. Lousy marriage. You know, so he's talking about himself, right? Although he's talking about the other guy to Ethan, he's really talking about himself. He's using this as an excuse to make like a confession, if you will.
So you think he killed her because he has a lousy marriage?
That plus, like, he thought maybe was something going on. He had a really, like, I really didn't like the line at the end where he was like, yeah, she thought her charms wouldn't work on you, but since I tasted the goods, I knew they would. I'm like, whoa. Like, okay, I get he really is a bad guy. That's like some bad guy dialogue there, right? So
yeah, I'm glad Aubrey didn't ask about that line.
Yeah, it sounds really odd coming from Jon Voight. So anyway, so I didn't really. I thought definitely killing the wife was above and beyond bad, and you're right. We just don't have enough context for why he would have turned. I think it's just a twist. Like these movies do. That's what these movies do, right? It's a good left turn. You didn't expect it, and they kind of built the whole movie around that. So kind of have to just go with it one way or the other.
Excellent. Okay, right on. So then, what are we going to rate this out of? How are we going to do our ratings for this one here? Are we going to do impossible missions? Are we going to do masks? Are we going to do?
I would accept this mission 4 out of 5 times, Brandon.
Okay, yeah, and I would agree with that. So if we're going to do accepting the missions, I would go 4 out of 5 on this one here. I think it's a good movie, and I would watch it again anytime. But there's some stuff that is like, the masks don't work for me. The killing the wife doesn't work for me, and and the shot of him shooting himself. I mean, like I saw that after 20 years not knowing the twist. I'm like, it just looks like he shot himself. So. I don't know. But yeah, 4 out of 5. So as of right now, this is my favorite Mission Impossible film as we go through this again.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, is franchise fatigue, right? So we have to ask ourselves at the end of every episode, is this franchise yet fatigued? And it's not.
Ooh,
it's the first.
That's awesome. I like that. Yes. That is the greatest question ever, Zach.
I did not prep Brandon for that. I was going to bring it up on air, so you guys heard his reaction as well. So
yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. We're having audio recording problems, so my video's off and his video's off. You can't even see how big I'm smiling right now. That is the greatest question. And no, it is not fatigued yet.
Wouldn't that be terrible if it was, though? It's like one movie. So, I'm sure there's some franchises we'll start to cover. Like, yeah, they shouldn't have stopped after one. They should have stopped after none.
Well, I did I was following along with commentary Trek stars back in the day on Trek FM, and they were doing the Fast and the Furious movies. And I watched the first one, and I'm like, why is there a sequel to this? And I watched the second one, I'm like, why is there a sequel to this one? And yeah, so
let me tell you a little inside baseball on that, Brandon. I've only seen one Fast and Furious movie. It's Fast and Furious 4.
That was the one that you were on for commentary.
That's right.
Which
yeah,
was
that's right. Because that was
fourth one.
Yeah, that was the fourth one, right? And Mike Schindler, who we're going to hear from next week, talking about MI2, right? He's like, hey, you want to be on Trek FM? Talk about Mission Impossible? Not Mission Impossible. Talk about Fast and Furious 4. I was like, sure, no problem. I went out and bought the Blu-ray, and here I am. So
yeah. My first commentary Trek stars was number 3.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was number 3 that I was on because of Tokyo Drift, because I had it on HD DVD, and I'm like, and I never got around to watching it, and I'm like, okay, I better watch these movies.
One last awesome bit of trivia, Brandon. You mentioned HD DVD bringing up obsolete technology. Mission Impossible.
Obsolete. Okay, HD DVD is just fine.
Okay, sure. Tell that to any movie that came out after 2010, right? But Mission Impossible is the last major motion picture release to come out on Betamax.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
So Betamax died in the late 90s. I think it died for most people in the late 80s, but they finally stopped making them in the late 1990s. So that's a little.
That's cool to know. We had both a Beta and a VHS player.
Oh, there you go. And we, I